language home tutorial class. This program is brought to you by City Government of Addis Ababa Education Bureau in collaboration with Addis Media Network. Students, did you remember what we have learned in the previous class? Good. In the previous class, we talked about passive voice in simple past. Here, simple past in passive voice. Past in passive voice. And then we talked about simple past in passive voice means there may be action which happened in the past and the completed there. Okay? For example, my friend cleaned the board. Look, in this sentence, we have to identify which one is the subject, which one is the verb, and which one is the object. Clear? Example. Here, my friend is here, the subject. What about cleaned? This one is the verb. What kind of verb? Verb 2. So what about the board here? The board is the object or the receiver of the action. If you want to change such kinds of sentence into passive voice, we have to know that. We have to start from the object. Is it clear? So, the board is or was, because this one is verb 2. So, the board was cleaned by, yes, my friend. Good. So, here is the object of the active voice. Is it clear? In this sense, that's the object. But we put here in place of the subject. Still it is the receiver of the action. Very good. Don't forget that. We simply put in place of the subject. It is not subject. Still it is the receiver of the action. Am I clear? Good. Now we can change this one into negative form. Can we change into negative form here? The board wasn't or was not is possible. The board wasn't cleaned. Wasn't cleaned by my friend. Look. Still the difference is not here. They're the same. What if you want to change such kinds of activity into interrogative form or in question form? Can we change it? Sure, we can. Here, we have to start from the verb to be. So, was the board. Then, the object of the active voice should be followed. Was the board cleaned by my sister or my friend? Good. I hope I'm right. So, we use passive voice if the speaker is just interested in the action, not in the doer of the action. So we have to start from the receiver of the action. Am I right? Good. Nice student. Our today's topic is modal verbs of advice. Modal verbs of advice. Just like should, ought to, and had better. had better. Okay, students, at the end of our today's lesson, you will be able to differentiate the function of this modal verbs like should, ought to, and had better. And then you are going to change into negative and question form. I hope you are ready. Nice students. Okay, let's start from should. Should. When do we use should? One, to give advice. To give advice. Another, to recommend or to give recommendation, or maybe to recommend something. To recommend something. Is it clear? Good. So, let's say something about it one by one. Example. You should do your homework. Your homework. Look, in this sentence, the word should is used. Is it clear? So, you should do your homework. This means advice. And also sometimes, this also can be used for what? Yes, for moral obligation. Obligation. Do you know what obligation means? Students, when you want to advise someone, maybe if the degree of your advice is just rises up, it can be changed into obligation. It's nothing there. You should do your homework. It can be advice. And also sometimes moral obligation, okay? Nice. So, you should solve your problem. Your problem by yourself. Look, this one is just, I'm recommending someone, okay? Here, so this one can be said recommendation. A recommendation. Recommending someone to do something. So what about moral obligation? Rather than saying you must do this one, it's better if you say you should. Okay? She should, can be said here, she should leave the class. Look, this one is just, you are ordering someone to do something because he or she is not interested to do it. Am I right? So this one can be said moral obligation. Moral obligation. Rather than saying you must leave the class, is better if you say you should leave the class. Okay? Nice. So what about ought to? Ought to. Still, we can use ought to, one, to express moral obligation. Obligation. To give advice. It is just formal than should. But we use them just maybe depends on the context. Is it clear? When we say ought to, we can use to give advice. Another one is here. Maybe we can use advice just to express moral obligation and give advice. For example, you ought to see the doctor. Look, they have the same meaning with should. And instead of ought to, you can use what? Should. Because sometimes we can use ought to and the should to give advice in such ways, yeah? You should see the doctor. For example, if someone says, I feel sick. Mr. B can say, really? You ought to go hospital. Go hospital. Look, when we say just this sentence, we mean that really, you ought to go hospital. This means, and that's what we can say, you should go hospital. Am I right? Nice student. So, now let's say something about the next point here. About had better. Had better. When do we use had better? This is used to give or provide what? A strong advice. Look, a strong advice. What about another function used to give what? Warning. So, when we say warning, we mean that something which is very important. If you don't do it, something will happen. Something not good will happen. Am I right? Good. So when we say warning, for example, we've said here a strong advice. You had better go to the office. Look, I'm just giving what? Advice. But this one is just, can be said, strong advice. Here, you had better go to the office. Unless, or if not, unless you will be punished. You will be punished. Here is the risk. Okay? Because that is a strong advice. This means, in other ways, that can be said, obligation. If you don't do it, something will happen. Maybe something which is not good for you. Okay? You had better wash your hand after you use the laboratory. Here, this one is just for one. Okay? You had better wash your hand after you use the laboratory. Am I right? So had better is here. Look, from this sentence, maybe we can derive the form of affirmative sentence. Is it clear? So in affirmative sentence, we can use different structures. Let's say something about that one by one. Okay, for example, to use should. Should and one affirmative. Here, in affirmative, when we say the subject should go at the beginning, you should clean the board. Look, you should clean the board. I should go home. I should go home. So from this sentence, we can derive the form of affirmative sentence should. Should in what? In affirmative sentence. Here, its form is subject. It is a subject. You, I. So subject plus should. Don't worry about the subject, because for all personal pronouns we can use should. Should plus base verb. Do you know what base verb means? Base verb is the verb which do not, or maybe which doesn't take what? D, ed, ied, s, and so forth. The verb which do not take prefix and any suffix. Here is, as example, go, clean. They are what? Base verb, because we didn't add anything here. We didn't add anything here. Am I right? Nice student. So here, this one is the form of affirmative in the sentence. Should can be used in such a structure. You can make your own sentence. Nice. What about the next point? What about in negative form? In negative. Should. Yes. I should not. Here. I should not open the door. I should not open the door. You shouldn't go there. Look, you shouldn't go there. It's just like a piece of advice, which is strong. Maybe just for warning, you can use it. Shouldn't. Shouldn't. So in this sentence, the word not, and here the word not shows what? The negative, isn't it? The negative mark. This one is also the negative mark. This means the negative sentence. And when we're using should. What about another concept here? What if it is interrogative? Interrogative means question. Okay? Interrogative means in question form. Look, the form maybe can be deriving from the given sentence. What I'm going to write here: should. We can check this one. Should I open? Should I open the door? Look, should I open the door? What about this one? Or maybe we can say shouldn't. If it is negative, shouldn't I open the door? What about the next one? You should you go there? Should go there? Should you go there? What if it is negative? You can say should not or shouldn't you go there? Look at the sentence here. Shouldn't, the difference between this concept. Here, this one is just if it is given in what? Affirmative. Okay? In affirmative case. In affirmative. This one is a negative. If it is given in negative, you can use such kinds of structure. So, what the form? We can derive from here. The form is should plus then the subject. It can be first person, singular or plural, second person, third person, singular or plural. Should plus subject plus verb 1 or base verb. Verb 1 or base verb. Get in your mind, please. Base verb here. Now, student, I hope you're with me. Am I clear? Should plus subject plus verb 1. When we say here, should I. Should is here, the subject is I. Should, shouldn't. This one is for negative, sure. For negative, we have to say what? Shouldn't plus subject plus base verb. Yes? Then we can add the object if necessary. So shouldn't here, here is the shouldn't. Here is the subject, here I the subject. Should, you is the subject. I hope I'm right. Shouldn't here, and also you the subject. I hope I'm right, yeah? Good. Now see then, now we will say something about ought to. Ought to in affirmative. In affirmative sense. For example, number 1. We ought to write our assignment. Our assignment. Look, when we say we ought to plus verb 1, the second one, they, or maybe it can be somebody's name, yeah? Somebody's name can be written here. Ought to clean the compound. The compound. So, from this sentence, we can derive the form. Can you derive it? Here is student, please tell your parents. Students' parents, please let them write the form of ought to in affirmative. You have 10 seconds. Bravo. I hope you did it. Yeah. Form here. What the form? Subject, look. Here's the subject. Here's the subject. What about the next point here? Plus, yes, ought to. Ought to plus verb 1 or base verb. Base verb. And if necessary as option, we can use object. plus object or complementary. Any complementary can be used to make it more clear for the listener. So here is the subject, they, we. What about ought to is here? Here is ought to, and here is also ought to. Plus base verb. Here, clean. We didn't add nothing. We didn't add anything here. Right. Here, clean here. So, if necessary, we can add just like objects like this. If it is not necessary, you can leave it. I hope I'm right, yeah? Good. What about in negative form here? Ought to in negative. In negative sentence. Maybe we can change this one into negative form to make it more clear. Yeah? For example, number 1. We ought to write our assignment. We ought not to write our assignment. But such kinds of structure is not well known in English. Okay? It's just less important. It's less common. Am I right? We can say we ought not to write our assignment. It's not this much sensible. That's senseless. So, you can understand from this one here is, if necessary, we can adjust in this ways. Still it is possible, but it's not this much advisable. Okay, what about it is interrogative form? Interrogative form. Of what? Ought to. Ought to. Still, ought to is not this much common in English to use in interrogative form. But sometimes still it is possible. Is it clear? For example, we can say, ought I to clean the board? Clean the board? Still it is possible, but it's not this much common. Number 2, maybe we can say here, ought he to go there? Ought he to go there? Is it sensible? Senseless. So it's not this much advisable to use such kinds of structure. It's not well known, okay? So let's go to the next point about had better. Had better. As we said earlier, had better is just used to give what? A strong advice. And sometimes it can be said obligation. A strong advice means obligation. Is it clear? And also here we can use it to give what? Warning. Especially in urgency case. In urgency case. Rather than. Maybe we can use had better, ought to, and should to give advice. But they have a little bit difference. Should is used to what? To give advice, the normal advice can be used. Ought to is a more formal. Is it clear? More formal. Even if we do not use this much in our daily speech, that's more formal. Rather than saying you should do your homework, it's better you ought to do your homework. Ought to do your homework. Am I right? So come on here. This one just in affirmative case. In affirmative sentence. Question number 1. We can say here, you had better, yes, apologize. Apologize. Or you will be punished. You will be punished. In this sentence, we can understand as someone is just warning another person. You had better apologize him, or you will be punished. Okay, so this one is the warning. The warning, especially in what? In urgent case. So, from this sentence, we can derive the form. Am I right? We can derive. It's better if you drive by your own. Are you ready? Get a seat in. Let me give you 30 seconds. Derive the form of affirmative of this sentence just using had better. Good. Students, parents, please don't forget to help them. Bravo. I hope you did it. Nice student. Nice. Come on here. Which one the subject? You. You the subject. Had better, yeah? This one is what? Base verb. Base verb. This one is just the receiver of the action. Is it clear? Or it can be said the complement. Complement means the sentence or something which we use to complete our ideas, to minimize the question which can be raised. Is it clear? Bravo. Here. So the form is here. Subject. Because look, here is the subject. Plus what? Nice. Had better. Had better. Plus base verb. Excellent. Base verb. I hope you did like this. And if necessary, we can add what? Object. Or complementary. Complementary means the sentence or the clauses that we use to make it more clear, the given sentence or clearer. Okay? Now there. So, what about it is negative form? Negative of this sentence. Students, can you change this one into negative? Please, change the sentence that I wrote here into negative form. You have only 30 seconds. Bravo. You did it. Nice. So, we can change here into its negative forms. You had better not. You had better not apologize. apologize him, or you will be punished. You will be punished. Now, will be punished is not important here, because we use the what? Had better not. You had better not apologize him. This means if you apologize him, something will happen. Something bad will happen. Is it clear? Okay, for this sentence, just let me give you another example. We had better not drive quickly. Look, you had not better drive quickly. So the negative marker is just collocated here. So from this sentence, we can derive the formula. Form of this concept is subject. Am I right? Because here is the subject. Here is the subject. Plus, what? Had better not. Better not. Drive, we've said. So, had better not plus base verb. Don't forget to put base verb at the end of such kinds of sentence. So, subject plus had better not plus base verb. Here is had better not. Here is the what? Drive is the base verb. We didn't add any prefix and suffix. Am I right? Bravo, students. Okay, now we will see something about the negative form. Has been said. What about if it is interrogative form? Interrogative form. Still in this sentence, interrogative form is not this much divided. It's just less common. Is it clear? For example, let me give you one positive sentence, then let's change into negative. If it is possible. So, you had better ask him the money. The money. Or you will, or maybe you will not be able to, buy the house. The house. Is it clear? Listen, you had better ask him the money. Or you will not be able to buy the money, buy the house. Because just this one is as warning. Can we change this one into interrogative form? How can we change it? Even if it is not this much noun in English, maybe in some context we can use had you better. Had you better not. Had you better not ask him the money. We can say here, still it is possible. Had you better not. Had you, it's not this much noun in English. So, especially had better and ought to is less common in interrogative. Am I right? Good. Homework. The instruction says write the negative and interrogative form of this sentence. This sentence. Number one, we should read the not in the library. In the library. Come on. Number two, you had better take a taxi. You had better take a taxi. Unless you will miss the meeting. Number three, they ought to listen this program properly. So students, for the next class, you have to do this sentence. Then the instruction says is write the negative and the interrogative forms. Students' parents, please don't forget to help them. Check whether they are right or wrong. If they're right, you're welcome. But if not, please try to encourage them and help them. So that's all about this lesson. Bye-bye.